हेलो एवरीवन, वेलकम टू माय चैनल। आज हम करेंगे डिलन थॉमस की पोएम एंड डेथ शैल हैव नो डोमिनियन। उसके बाद अगर वीडियो बड़ा नहीं हुआ तो पोएम इन अक्टूबर को भी एनालाइज करेंगे एंड फर्न हिल को भी एनालाइज करेंगे, लेकिन ये थोड़ा वीडियो बड़ा हो जाएगा। दो दो पोएम्स, इनकी हम 4 पोएम्स कर रहे हैं ना। इसमें वैसे 5 पोएम्स हैं टोटल। द फोर्स दैट थ्रू द ग्रीन फ्यूज ड्राइव्स द फ्लावर, ये हम नहीं करेंगे क्योंकि हमारे ये इसमें सिलेबस में नहीं है, तो हम इसमें करेंगे एंड डेथ शेल हैव नो डोमिनियन एंड पोएम इन अक्टूबर एंड एनालिसिस। इसके 2 पोएम्स को हम एनालाइज करेंगे इस वाले पार्ट में। लेट अस स्टार्ट नाउ। एंड डेथ शेल हैव नो डोमिनियन। Critics have observed that Thomas' range of subject is extremely limited. Love and sex were inseparable in his imagination. As he grew older, sex became a nightmare and love remained a mere slogan. Death, and the other important theme of his poetry, preoccupied his imagination from the beginning. The first line is repeated 6 times in this poem of 3 stanzas of 9 lines each. The first and the last lines of each stanza are the same. It is a line adapted from St. Paul, Romans 6. Death hath no more dominion. Biblical allusions abound in Dylan Thomas poems. Biblical allusions होते हैं इनकी poem में. Now the theme of the poem is traditional. John Donne in a sonnet says, "One short sleep past, we wake eternally, and death shall be no more. Death thou shalt die." शेक्सपियर टू हैड सेड, ये बता रहे हैं कि जॉन डन ने क्या बोला था और शेक्सपियर ने क्या बोला था। एंड डेथ, शेक्सपियर बोलते हैं एंड डेथ वंस डेड, there is no more dying then. The Christian myth of resurrections on the last day of judgment is implicit in the poems. Written by the poet at the age of 19, the poem is innovative in form, not a sonnet. It is a poem of three 9-line stanzas of traditional iambic tetrameters. Now let us first consider the theme. Man for the poet is man from sea to grave, with the emphasis on the grave. The tone of the preachers is adopted or mimicked in this poem. The making of a poem is also the poet's making of his self. He is concerned with his individual world, which he tries to express emotionally, not with objective detachment, is remarkable. His God is cosmic energy, not the Old Testament God of judgment. If we look for consistency of ideas or thought in Thomas' poetry, we shall be disappointed. How shall we reconcile and death shall have no dominion with after the first death there is no other? He sounds conventional, but he is not serious. The later line from a refusal to mourn is characteristically ambiguous. The assertion and death shall have no dominion asks for the impossible, at least to a agnostic reader. The irony and pathos is tragic. In the first stanza, the poet asserts that the dead will be recreated on the judgment day. They will be joined to the wind and stars in a united creation. Though lovers be lost, love shall not, is a line which seems a sort of an intrusive, if fine idea. Or is this imperishable God's love for man? In the second stanza, the rise of the martyrs from the dead is described. They were tortured in their lifetime and might have lost faith. Faith in their hands shall snap in two. Now, the world of the early poetry of Thomas was described by Elder Olson as tragic, not melodramatic. In this poem, serious enough to have a tragic tone. The faith in a resurrection may not be unwavering, but a line like break in the sun till the sun breaks down expresses it forcefully. This poem doesn't have the textural destiny, density of the force that through the green fuse drives the flower. वो हमने नहीं की है. Its diction is less complex, though we have characteristic phrase the unicorn evil. For example, the unicorn evils. Now the poem in October, इसका हम एनालिसिस साथ में कर लेते हैं. Notice one that the poet celebrates his own birthday. Two, that birth, life, and death are simultaneously present in this present in his imagination. And third, that the urge to transcend time and defeat, that death in art or poetry is intense and paramount. The last line of this poem is memorable and passes Matthew Arnold's touchstone method of test. The other birthday poems by the poet were written, one on his 20th birthday and second on his 35th. Thus, in chronological order, the poems are as follows. जैसे कि first है especially when the October wind, 20th birthday पे लिखी थी. 24th birthday पे उन्होंने लिखी थी 24 years remind the tears of my eyes. 30th birthday पे लिखी थी उन्होंने poem in October and 35th birthday पे लिखी थी poem on his birthday. The first poem shows how the poet views the world through language in terms of words, vowels, voices, notes, and speech, spelling, declaration, signs, tell, meaning, etc. Phrases like the wordy shapes of woman, shut in a tower of words, oaken voices, neural meaning, the vowel pitches, the water speeches, etc. are original. Gradually, the Thomas progressed from word as thing to word as sign. For Thomas, not only is seeing a language, as Coleridge remarked, being a language too. Synesthesia in his poems gave abstract thought and language an overpowering reality. He was haunted by the individuality of man and matter. In the use of symbols, Thomas achieved energy rather than clarity. Alan Tate denounced the belief that language itself can be reality or by incantation can create a reality. He regarded this as superstition shared by Dylan Thomas. Thomas used tropes as concepts in his poetry, though the concepts are elementary. Just wait. Now, let us consider our text. अब हम poem in October की बात करेंगे. For this poet, meaning was bound up with pattern and order. This poem of the third phase of the development of the poet presents a ritual, sacramental picture of nature. The heron priested shore, water praying. The scene is made vivid and concrete. Harbor and neighborhood of Logarne is recalled. What was called pseudo-syntax is compact sentence structure in Thomas' poetry. Some links are snapped to make the poem more compact or poetic. Remembrance is commemoration in the poem. The poet was described as a child or an adolescent unable to face life. The poet of genius unable to face life seems to be a contradiction of terms. The morning scene is so holy that water seems to be praying and herons priests. The poet walks through the scene, which is a beautiful confusion of actuality and memory of country and sea, of the sun and rain of a sunshine shower. I myself refer directly to the poet. The repetition of these pronominal forms reflects the subjectivity or egocentricity of the autobiographical poem. The water bird and the birds of the winged trees flying my name is a sort of self-projection or identification with nature. The phrase, a shower of all my days, is mixing the past and present memory with perception. Gates closing as the town awakes imply, according to W. Y. Tyndall, rebirth on his birthday. But this is far-fetched. And in the second stanza, the birds of the winged trees flying my name may simply mean birds flying above the waves. Dylan in English means high tide. Spring and summer impregnate autumn. A springful of larks and the sun of October summary are fine phrases. Consider particularly words like springful, summary. Notice the stanza form contracting and expanding. Sunshine and rain symbolize childhood and youth, past and present. The childhood jays of Swansea or Fernhill come to mind. The tall tales beyond the border. There could I marvel my birthday away, but the weather turned around. The parables of sunlight and the legends of the green Sheffield reminds of the poem written 10 years ago, especially when the October wind. The stanza form is regular. The 7 stanzas of 10 lines each, the lines of varying length, are all consciously organized. The poet becomes an imagination, the child with his mother, the tears of the infant burnt by cheeks. Summertime of the dead is past summers. The child is in a sense dead, or the dead people whom the child loved. Maybe the meaning, consider the sentence and the true. Joy of the long dead child burning in the sun. Sang burning in the sun. Notice the paradoxes. Joy sang burning in the sun. The true joy of the long dead child. Notice also the rhythmic manipulation of the sentence. The poet wishes to sing next year like this. Oh, may my heart's truth still be sung on this high hill in a year's turning. Okay, now 5 years later, in his last birthday poem, written after 5 years before his death, the poem wrote, the close I move to death one man through his sundered hulks, the louder the sun blooms and the tusked ramshackling sea exults. In 15 years, the poet developed and matured from the fascination of language to a mastery of it, from the world of words to the world of experience. Now, a poem in October creates a fantasy. A poem in October creates a fantasy world where things exist and mingle lovely confusion till this rainbow world of fantasy is drowned in the sea of reality. Confusion of seasons suggested a timeless simultaneity in imagination. Notice the connective and dominating syntax in stanza 5. The concluding stanza repeats elements of the preceding stanzas, but the vision is static and the poem ends with a prayer that the poet may continue writing poems. Okay, चलो ये फिनिश हो जाता है यहाँ पे. थैंक यू सो मच. नेक्स्ट वीडियो में वी आर गोइंग टू डू फर्न हिल, और दूसरी एक और पोएम है उसको भी हम नेक्स्ट वीडियो में फिनिश करेंगे. थैंक यू.